And welcome to Risen Esports Rampage League. I'm your caster, Desirux, followed by my co-caster, Phoenix All. We are getting into the match for this week. The Dirty Sanchez's versus Team Blackjack. Gonna hit the draft phase soon. How you doing today, Phoenix All?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Could be better, could be better. Weird that being back on the cast after so long. It's been quite some time, but definitely excited to get into it. So right now we're currently waiting for the R's to go out so we can get into this draft phase and see what these teams have for us. Once that goes out, we are getting into the first phase of bans now. Right away, Sejuani ban.
Followed by an Evelyn ban. That's a little interesting. Banning out the junglers currently.
Yeah, the bans going straight for the junglers. Sejuani, definitely one of the better picks lately. There's been a lot of fleet footwork Sejuani's coming out of the mix, specifically from the Korean meta.
Indeed.
Works pretty well, though. You get the attack speed, you're able to clear the jungle a little bit faster, you can proc your permafrost faster. Second jungle ban coming out, third jungle ban, I should say, Nunu. And Zoe being banned from the mid lane.
Zoe's indeed a strong mid lane pick. Not too bad in support either.
Let's see, followed by Xayah. And hard to really say where these target bans are going out to at the moment. So far, it was a very jungle-focused banning phase. Starting to alternate out of that. Last ban will be coming up from Team Blackjack in just a second.
Seems like TDS is banning a lot of the current meta junglers. Nunu is a top 5 jungler win rates yesterday on op.gg, so...
Yeah, recently just got hotfixed, but we've all seen that video with the Nunu Azir 11-second Baron 20 minutes into the game. But yeah, we are going to have the first pick coming out from the Dirty Sanchez's. What a name, by the way. Zach being first pick.
Sticking with that tank CC jungler. Interesting that they banned out Sejuani when they're going to pick somebody like Zach, but could have been targeted.
Yeah, it's not too much of a surprise, though, because pit status typically goes for those tank-like junglers, Sejuani, Zach, Gragas, and Mumu on his recently played list. But meanwhile, Morgana and Jhin picked up on the side of Team Blackjack.
That's an extremely annoying potential bot lane because you have the Morgana snare into the Jhin W, and that's just a lot of damage coming out.
Yeah, a lot of potential to lock down, plus a lot of potential to keep Jhin safe. Jhin not having that much mobility, just gets a burst of movement speed every time he crits, but having the Black Shield keep him a little bit more safe, especially from Zac. And we do have Tristana and Braum locked in now.
Braum is a pretty good counter pick to Jhin, although not strictly necessary, as anybody can body block his shots.
On that note, Killer Ken is actually on his most comfortable ADC at the moment. Tristana, 6 games played, has a 67% win rate on that champion. Very, very comfortable territory.
And a Mumu coming out from side BJ.
Sorry, that just throws me off. Oh, man. But yeah, that Amumu going over to Baron 1357. We're going to see that in the jungle. So far, a pretty potent lockdown team we're seeing from Team Blackjack. But second phase of bans coming in, we do have the Jax banned out.
It's an interesting pick, considering that Team TDS had already picked their jungler.
Well, Jax can go to the top lane. I know Genio does play Jax. More of a Fiora main, more than anything else. But now Malzahar banned out from the Dirty Sanchez's.
Definitely looking like a huge lockdown CC team for Team BJ.
You're gonna say it that way every single time, aren't you?
Yes, I am. You know they made it that way for a reason.
Absolutely. At least TBJ, come on now. So Zed is actually pretty potent in the meta. He really started to pick up once Vayne started to pick up as well. A lot of people would respond to the Vayne pick by grabbing Zed just to burst down that Vayne before she destroys your whole team. But now with Vayne getting nerfed, less likely to see her, and still though, Zed getting banned out, making sure they don't have that potential roaming threat on the Dirty Sanchez's.
Indeed. Even with the Vayne nerfs, I think that considering her win rate is still pretty high, she's still a valuable pick in the bot lane.
That being said though, both ADCs are picked, so
yeah.
Do have Tarek picked up on the side of Team Blackjack.
Interesting. So it looks like we're going to see a Morgana mid this game.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Actually, quite a surprise. It's been a while since I've seen Morgana mid. I remember going back to like the Season 2 days, Morgana mid was a permaban.
Really?
And now Ryze picked up. One thing to note about Ryze is they did make a change towards his ult. He can no longer use his Hourglass and his ult at the same time. It will cancel his ultimate.
That is a big fix. It's a especially loved combo of any pro Ryze player to do so.
Hopefully Insight knows that. Ryze is his second most played mid laner for the season so far. Zed being banned out as his first. So he is on a comfort pick. There's a lot of comfort picks for the Dirty Sanchez's.
There's nothing wrong with going comfort picks either. You know what you're doing.
So the last pick gonna come in. It is gonna be Maokai. That will most likely be the top lane unless they decide to do some dirty meta switches on us.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about meta, we're seeing a Morgana mid this game, so it's definitely going to be interesting. There's a lot of CC coming in from that team.
One thing to note is just how beefy Team Blackjack is. They've gone with 3 tanks, especially one that gives invulnerability, I should say. But along with having that invulnerability, they don't have much to follow it up with. So they can take that Terracle, but after that, they're really relying heavily on Morgana and Jhin to do damage. And Morgana's not really the best burst damagey. She's more of a pick type champion, where Jhin is the one who's going to be doing sustained damage. So it's a very not too much synergy coming out of that composition.
Indeed not. It seems like they try to go for the approach of locking down their targets long enough to get a few picks, possibly. I could argue that Team TDS does have a better team fight because of the fact that they have a lot more damage dealers as well as their tanks. But Team Blackjack does have the ability to get some strong small skirmishes going.
And another thing to note is that when it comes down to it, TDS has really gone with comfort picks. The Fiora is a comfort pick. The Braum, a little less so, but the Ryze, the Tristana, the Zac, all of those are comfort picks for TDS. So they're really looking to go something they're comfortable on and something that they can play, and they're not going to be swayed by the picks and bans. They just want to play their game.
And even though they did pick comfort picks, they do have a fairly strong team comp. They have a good amount of CC, a good amount of peel, good sustained damage. The only thing I think might be lacking a bit is the magic damage coming from Team TDS, but at the same time, Braum and Zac do help with that.
Yeah, Ryze's sustained magic damage is pretty great as well.
Yes, I was just about to say that.
So yeah, that verifies that that is a Morgana mid. No little haphazard tricks or anything.
It could be possible that Sparkle Fabulous was going for the counter pick, possibly. If Ryze is such a comfort pick, that would not be a surprise.
One thing that's interesting me is the teleport pick from the Morgana. This means he is looking to make plays across the map with this Morgana. He's looking to try and set up a teleport play in some way and be able to lock down whatever lane he can and start getting them to snowball. So he's playing a supportive champion, but he wants to play it in a way that sets up his lanes for success.
Morgana mid is also very good against potential other roaming champions, such as Ryze, because her wave clear and her passivity make it really difficult for the enemy mid laner to be able to move across the map without suffering some pushing power in their lane. So in addition to the teleport, I feel like this is a very interesting pick against somebody like Ryze who can instantly clear the waves.
So far, based on the draft, who do you see winning this and why?
I feel like TDS definitely has a way stronger team fight. Although, even though Team Blackjack does have those large AoE ultimates, I feel like TDS has a stronger damage output as well as the tanks. And if I'm going to be fairly honest, they do have almost equal amounts of CC, although a little bit farther spread apart.
And I would love to equalize that vote, but I do like the way TDS are going. They have very, very potent engages, as well as the Ryze teleport, as well as the slingshot. Everything really does work out for them when it comes to a team fight. They can disrupt, they can do damage. They have the whole package, and even though there's so much disruption as well on the side of Team BJ, I don't think it's enough damage to really back up what they want to do in team fights.
Indeed. They're going to rely heavily on the Morgana and the Jhin, and if the team fights go the way I'm thinking that they will go, Morgana is going to be in the thick of it, trying to get a juicy ult lockdown on multiple members. So it's very likely that she's going to eventually get popped in the fight, which leaves Jhin as the sole damage dealer for Team Blackjack.
Well, that also kind of disrespects the fact that if Team BJ can actually play it as a pick comp, if they can just go around the map and establish vision, really try and play towards objectives, they don't really need to have those like elongated team fights. They just need to find a pick and then get objective, find a pick, get objective. They do have a comp that's really well designed for that.
Yes, definitely. Especially with the Morgana and the Taric and the Amumu. Just altogether, any one of those with Jhin or Morgana in the combo would be a devastating skirmish for anybody involved on the other side.
Yeah, so we are getting through. Okay, yeah. We are getting through the spectator delay, so we shall get into the match soon enough. But so far, interesting drafts to come out of both sides. Both teams have something to prove coming into Rampage.
I'm curious to see how the mid lane plays out, to be honest. It's not too often you see a Morgana mid, and these days it's also not too often you see a Ryze. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out.
I do see what you were talking about as a counter pick in terms of picking the Morgana, having that shove, having the teleport, and being able to play it safe, having the black shield should work pretty well against the Ryze. But once Ryze starts getting past that like level 6 point, starts getting into the mid game, it's going to be more and more difficult to actually deal with him.
I agree. I also think Morgana has a larger pick, but like you already know that Team Blackjack has a really good pick potential. I also think that with the teleport, Morgana can make some very sick teleport ult plays, especially if she gets behind the enemy lane that she's ganking. That's going to be a devastating ultimate.
Another fact to bring up, though, is the fact that TDS have yet to win their first game of the season, currently standing 0-4 against BJ's 2-2. So if this is the game to win, they have the draft to do it as long as they don't fall victim to the pink complex style.
Right. I think what Team TDS needs to be doing this game is really just be grouping and forcing down objectives while just trying to split. Because if they can force those long team fights or sieges, then Team Blackjack starts to really lose that power that they have in their composition. But if Team Blackjack gets any momentum, then they can start split pushing and forcing members of Team TDS to split off and answer that, and then their team fight becomes even weaker.
So we are getting into the load screen now. One thing I want to point out is that's a Kleptomancy Fiora.
You see a lot of that these days. Her Q can proc it as well as any other on-hit ability, but it makes Poke Fiora very viable. She just dashes in, gets some healing on her vitals, and sometimes gets the consumable, dashes right back out.
Yeah, but considering that Kleptomancy was just nerfed in this recent patch, how do you think that's going to affect the gameplay for the top lane?
It's difficult to say. Maokai does have a lot of sustained CC, and but he's also a tank, and Fiora also has a lot of sustained damage and also healing. So I think that even though she probably could have taken a better keystone, I don't think the Kleptomancy is such a bad idea. I think in the overall, Fiora definitely, if she plays it right, can beat Maokai, but if not, she has the tools to play passively she needs to. For instance,
we'll see how that... Go ahead.
For instance, Fiora's usually will take Press the Attack or Lethal Tempo as another keystone, but if this lane kind of goes sideways, she always has Kleptomancy to fall back upon because she can play it passive, she can just poke, she can get those consumables and just keep themselves in the lane, and I think it won't be such a bad keystone.
So off that note, we're finally past the load screen. We're going to get into the Rift Risen Esports Rampage League. Team Dirty Sanchez's versus Team Blackjack. Let's get into it. So far, we've got the first buys coming out. Notice a Doran's Blade on Fiora, which kind of signals that Genio is looking for more of an aggressive lane.
Indeed. Maokai also took the Corrupting Potion, which is significant because in this kind of lane, especially with the Kleptomancy Fiora, he knows that Fiora is going to be looking for that poke, and taking Corrupting Potion as opposed to a Doran Shield, well, I'm not sure what he was thinking, but there's definitely a plan behind it.
Oh my goodness. And one thing I do have to point out, though, is the amount of stopwatches on the side of TDS.
Every single player but the support.
Oh man, League of Stopwatches, here we are.
Minions have spawned.
Yeah, not too out of the ordinary, though. It is a pretty useful rune to have. As if you're not just getting the immunity, you're also getting pretty much a 600 gold item for free early in the match.
And now with the stopwatch update in the runes came also the ability to build it into any sort of item, tank, mage, AD.
So both junglers choosing to start in the bot side. Nothing too out of the ordinary just yet. We are going to get into the laning phase and see how this game plays out. In the bot lane, this is something we haven't really talked about yet. Who do you see winning the bot lane? How do you think this is going to play out?
Personally, looking at the comps, I think that TDS definitely does have a better passive farming bot lane. Braum has that good counter engage, and Tristana has the safety of the jump. But I think that Team Blackjack does also have the potential to get a really good gank off. If it was just up to the 2v2 all game, I think that Team Blackjack would definitely be able to put the pressure on TDS, but if TDS plays it right, I think that they should be able just to farm and scale into the late game, which is where their power spike is.
And we do see a stun onto Killer Ken. Aggression back and forth in this bot lane from both supports, trying to set up something to get their ADC ahead. In terms of pressure, no real lane just winning out yet. But we do notice in the mid lane, Ensight has been bullying, has been starting to push forward, but we do see the roam coming out from Sparkle Fabulous as well. They might look to invade onto Pit Status's blue buff area. And they do spot
Yes.
him out. The ward was placed, so he is going to notice that and back out just in time.
And see, here's what I was talking about with the Morgana pick, because even though she left lane to go help Baron, she didn't even miss much of a wave. She had it so pushed in that she was just able to go up and help him and not suffer any consequences.
It is kind of tricky to say that at the moment because Ensight is ahead by about 7 CS at the moment. Even though Sparkle hasn't picked up that current wave, that's still pretty significant. Yeah, and that's another thing. The tower pressure can get pretty immense when it comes to Ensight. Being able to use that rise to shove in the wave. He is going to look for the early back, probably get the Tear of the Goddess first. But there's only so much Tormented Soil can do for you when you're fighting under tower. It can't really set up last hits as well as you would want it to.
Yeah, definitely not. It really depends on what skill order he goes, because he has the potential to push the waves in, but it just depends on how well he utilizes it.
And this is interesting. We said they might look to use that Morgana to push in the wave and keep Ensight at his tower. But that's already 2 points into Dark Binding. Make that... Okay, now he's put an extra point now that he got to level 5 into the Tormented Soil. But here we go with the gank coming out, looking to get on to Sparkle Fabulous. A great Dazzle comes out. The stun lands, but it's not going to be enough as Aldwist is able to defend his ADC.
Now, if you look at that play again, I think what might have been better done on the side of Team TDS was the Shisana didn't activate her Q until the very tail end of that fight. I think that there definitely could have been a stun that may have been a little bit sooner, and things may have gone differently for them if she had.
And we have a pause that comes out. Gonna find out the reason for that soon enough. But yeah, that last gank, even though it didn't work out, it did get the flash out of Fabulous Sparkle. And if there's one thing a Zac player likes, having that flash down just makes it so much easier, especially on an immobile ADC like Jhin.
Exactly. One important thing to note here is the CS difference of the junglers. We have Zac, who has come in for a gank already, but he is suffering major lack of CS, almost 2 times, actually 2 times behind Amumu, who is currently counter jungling.
And it all really depends if that's going to be made up or not, because either the efforts outside of his jungle is made up with the ganks if he goes for that return gank and starts getting his bot lane snowballing, or he gets nothing, and ultimately the power farming method that Amumu's doing pays off.
Right, and we do see Amumu right now on the pause screen taking the chickens, which is a large amount of golden XP for Zac that he desperately starts to need, because Amumu has already hit level 4, and Zac is still level 3 because of that gank. So if Zac can't get any gank pressure on the map, he's definitely going to be far behind.
Yeah, we will see how that plays out. Meanwhile, taking a look at the top lane, CS differential in favor of the Fiora. Genio playing that decently well, has a 10 CS lead. Nothing too significant just yet, but it is something that can add up. And really, if Genio is able to get at least 1 kill, that's all he needs to start snowballing in that lane and start doing well against this Maokai. It'll take a while before basic TJ is able to get in a position where he can 1v1.
I agree. I think it's also interesting that the Fiora was playing passive and allowing the Maokai to push into her. But it ended up working out in her favor, since she is ahead almost 2 waves in CS.
So we are still waiting to find out why this pause happened. It is coming to a close right now, and we will get back onto the rift. And there we go. Pit status going into the jungle of Baron. Very questionably so. He's getting punished ridiculously. And actually, I have that backwards. That's the jungle of pit status that's getting invaded. But here we go. The ultimate coming out of Genio. Will he dedicate to it? Chooses not to. The flash was down moving forward. And
Fairly even trade.
You take a look on the map, there is a roam coming out, and this is one of the things we were expecting, trying to get onto native. The bandage toss does land, the ultimate goes through, and the soul shackles captures one. Will it be enough? The heal is popped, and native is going to get rooted and downed for first blood. Baron might be the return kill, but it's not going to happen as the heal from Fabulous Sparkle makes it 1-0 in favor of Team BJ.
Yeah. The last auto there on the Shisana, she targeted the minion. That would have been the death of Baron had she hit him with it. Her explosive charge was still on the head. Would have added another proc of damage onto that, and another damage of an auto would have been the death. But sadly, she misclicked.
There was quite a window where that heal wasn't popped, so there was a chance. Unable to make it happen. So far, TBJ getting off a really successful roam. So the one thing I want to keep pointing out is the mid lane. This did set Sparkle Fabulous behind a little bit CS, but did manage to pick up a kill in the process of that roam. That's the kind of plays Sparkle needs to keep making. You took that teleport, you're looking for a roam style Morgana. Keep it up and that CS differential won't mean a thing. But here we go, Genio in the top lane looking to take out basic TJ. He's running critically low. One more auto should do it, and that's a kill for Genio 1. A little bit of action going off on the map. A return binding from Insight. And so far, this game going pretty even between both teams. And now, one interesting thing to point out is just the vision game being played on the side of TBJ. They have a lot of wards in that dragon area. Infernal is the first Drake up. So they might be looking to set up something to claim that Infernal early on in this game. I think I might have lost my co-caster.
Yes, I am. Sorry.
Okay, we got him back. There we go.
Infernal is definitely a drag you want to take early in the game. Or even at any point in the game. That bonus AD and AP is just something you can't afford to give up for free.
I would argue, actually, that Infernal is one of the worst early game Drakes, just because that percentage is so low, but it's also the best scaling Drake. So as you get into the late game, that means a lot more. Map pressure still there. We do see Baron possibly looking for something. He's spotted out by a ward. Will they actually choose to go for a tower dive? Seems really risky, just establishing vision. And nothing just yet, but a bandage toss, as well as the Curse of the Sad Mummy and Dark Binding onto Insight. He uses the teleport, and it did go off. So apparently that wasn't updated yet, and I'm ahead of myself. Most likely on the PvE then. Okay. So yeah, that does take away his stopwatch. He has used it, will not be able to use it again until he turns it into Ozonia's Hourglass. But a pretty good escape coming out from Insight. And on top of that, he got the escape, didn't use Flash, but got out Curse of the Sad Mummy and the Soul Shackles. But once again, a Dark Binding lands. A lot of pressure coming out from Sparkle Fabulous.
One thing to note is that even though Baron's been ganking, but he still has a huge CS lead.
And here it comes. The gank is out. Forces the flash out of Endsight. Now Pit Status having to use his stopwatch. Gets caught out. Getting pretty low. Burns the flash as well. Probably should have just started with the flash. Didn't have to use the stopwatch in that situation.
Sparkle Fabulous played that perfectly. You always have to want to wait right until they get out the stopwatch to shoot the Q. Actually, right before, that way it hits them as soon as they come out.
So now, 2 of the 4 stopwatches have been used 11 minutes into this game for TDS. We still have Genio and Killer Ken having their stopwatch. So now a potential roam might be coming out from Endsight as he's starting to just establish some vision. He does have his ultimate up. This could be the gank from Endsight. We have a teleport coming in from Sparkle Fabulous. Endsight is in the crosshairs. Eldwist playing forward, manages to get the snare onto Native, and that could be his second death. Is it? No, he barely manages to survive with the flash. But Curtain Call is open. Luckily, Native is far away enough that it doesn't matter.
The heal from Killer Ken definitely saved him there.
And this bot lane has been really, really tight with the way the fights have been going.
Extremely passive, but it's important to note that they are focusing the Braum instead of the Tristana, knowing that they can't actually catch Tristana if she's careful.
Yeah, they have to burn the rocket jump early if they want any chance to catch that Tristana. So now what we should see from this game is TBJ looking to pressure this bot lane even more. They have it lower and lower, but now hold that thought. Curse of the Sad Mummy used onto Endsight. Endsight taking a lot of damage, but here come 3 members of TDS. As the Let's Bounce is used, they're going to catch out Baron and take him out. Native takes up that kill. Endsight chasing after Sparkle. Sparkle backing off. But meanwhile, in the bot lane, first turret blood, 650 gold in the pocket of Fabulous Sparkle. Yeah, somehow Eldwist able to get out just in time to pick up that solo gold. To have Fabulous Sparkle pick up that solo gold. But yeah, this puts TDS in a little bit of a rough situation, especially since one of the main damage dealers of TBJ able to pick up that solo gold. Should have a pretty nice return. 3,000 gold in the pocket of Fabulous Sparkle right now. This also opens up the map quite a bit in terms of getting Baron to interfere with that bot lane even more. And even though he was caught out earlier, the distraction, not having the support there, set it up to where Fabulous Sparkle was able to get that solo gold, able to get that first tower gold.
Especially with the pressure on that first tower that they had in the bot lane, it forced Team TDS not to be able to do Drake because of the members of their bot lane were pushed in so far. So when Baron died, they weren't able to actually take the Drake, although it looks like they're going for it now.
Yeah, they are going for it now, and Baron is across the map stealing the blue of pit status. But they back off as pressure comes in. Eldwist, Sparkle Fabulous, putting on some pressure. Spell Shield blocks the binding. They're gonna look to try and fight this one. Pit status is in, and the invulnerability coming out. Cosmic Radiance is gonna be used, and there goes the Soul Shackles. Manages to stun up Killer Ken, who is running for his life. Gets stunned up and killed by Sparkle Fabulous. Now Insight having the flash away to stay alive, but his jungler doesn't look like he's gonna get the same treatment as Pit status goes down, and TBJ are in the driver's seat.
Wow, what an amazing fight. The very tip of that Taric Sun was able to catch the Tristana. A preemptive flash probably would have been needed to use, and she burned it anyway, but she must have burned it to escape the CC rather than after she was hit.
Yeah, and had to use the rocket jump to try and get away from the Soul Shackles, but it still popped, causing the stun right after the jump. But this is going to be the Infernal Drake, and this is the moment of time where the Infernal Drake really starts to pick up its value, especially considering that Fabulous Sparkle still hasn't purchased. He's got almost 3.8k gold in his pocket, and he's still going after minions, still farming. He's going to get a nice bonus when he gets back to base. And there's that recall. I want to see what he's going to pick up. So we do have a lane swap coming out. In the top lane, Killer Ken and Native looking to put pressure onto this top lane tower. Basic TJ's been struggling a little bit against this Fiora. Genio going to the bot lane now.
It's interesting to note that the Maokai chose to pick up the Sunfire Cape instead of a Bramble Vest against the Fiora.
Interesting to note that the Maokai decided to go in as he's picked up by the Let's Bounce and everything else that TDS has to offer as the booster shot able to finish him off. Buster shot, excuse me. But yeah, this lane swap is going to be successful. No one to guard this tower, so this tower will go down. That's going to be the first tower for TDS. Not first tower of the game, mind you. So we are almost dead even in gold. 1-1 in terms of towers. Infernal Drake in favor of TBJ. We have a competitive match on our hands. So it does appear a collapse is going to happen towards the mid lane. And we do have the bandage toss landing onto pit status. Baron playing this extremely aggressively. Takes a bit of damage, not too much. It is going to continue with the pressure on the mid lane turret. And TBJ right here are in a pretty decent situation. They're in a good spot where they can try and find picks while doing the siege. And that the threat of the pick is enough to make TDS just back off and be very careful about how they handle that protection of the tower.
Team TDS is they're doing exactly what the opposite of they need to be doing right now. They have the Fiora in the bot lane, which Fiora is a good split pusher, but the fact that they don't have all their members in the mid to stop this siege is why they're losing the mid turret.
Turret not down just yet, though. They do have a little bit of time to defend. We do see on the outside pit status trying to set up a possible engage. It's going to be a very difficult engage to pull off, though, as the Cosmic Irradiance can deny that, and the tower already getting critically low is going to be popped. Here comes the slingshot. It does land. He's not getting too much out of it as the invulnerability goes out from the Cosmic Irradiance. Killer Ken having to run away. The fourth shot doesn't land. Curtain Call is opened up. Genio a little bit stuck in no man's land, and there goes the curse of the Sad Mummy, and another kill picked up. That's 3-0 in favor of TBJ. And still the fights continue as Insight tries to flash over the roots. Not going to happen. That might be the end of Insight as he's caught out and killed by Sparkle Fabulous.
And here we are definitely seeing the kind of team comp that Team BJ picked up. They went for the pick comp. They went for the lockdown to catch people out, and they're doing exactly that. They're looking for the people. They're catching them out. They're getting the kills. Now they're getting the turrets.
And one crucial thing to point out about that last fight is that was the fight that TDS wanted. They chose to go with that fight. They did the elastic slingshot to get into that fight, and they got destroyed for it. They completely disrespected the Cosmic Radiance. They disrespected the Soul Shackles. They disrespected TBJ, and they made them pay for it. So now we are at a point of the game where the tempo control is heavily in favor of TBJ. There's a lot of damage on Fabulous Sparkle right now. Able to have almost 2,000 gold more than his lane opponent, Killer Ken. Has that Infinity Edge, just got the Rapid Fire Cannon, and he's looking to conquer this map.
It's always nice to see some variation in the builds that people use. I've personally been seeing a lot of lethality Jhin as of late, and seeing a crit Jhin is always interesting. But he is ahead, and it is viable.
It does appear that he's going for that movement speed cheese Jhin that I've been seeing every now and then, where you just crit every shot. You got 2 attack speed items, so you run really fast, and you just do that all over the map.
Well, it's not very bad idea. It works.
It does work, and now pit status a little bit caught out, gonna be able to get away. But meanwhile, taking a look at the builds more and more, you can see the direction that's being driven by TBJ. They do have the Abyssal Mask as well as the Sunfire Cape. Basic TJ having the Sunfire Cape, Abyssal Mask, they do synergize, even if they're built on opposite players. But on top of that, that does help the Tormented Soil. There's a lot of synergy with the way they're going with their builds, and now Aldwis gets a little bit caught out, but not enough to warrant a dive. So now with all outer turrets down, we'll have to wait and see what TBJ sets their eyes on next, as the Cloud Drake is currently up. They are establishing vision in that area, possibly looking to try and bait out a fight, but I doubt a fight would break out over just a Cloud Drake. It'd be wise of TDS to concede this.
It's also important to see the fact that TDS's vision has gone down drastically, as with their control of the map. You can see that there's a couple of wards scattered here and there in the jungle, but they definitely need some more wards down to be able to see exactly where TBJ is going.
And TDS tried to do the right thing by pressuring the mid lane as the dragon was being done, but they did it a little bit too late, because once that dragon went down, TBJ immediately rotating back to the mid lane to try and catch someone out. There's not much they really have on this map. What can TDS do to get back into it?
Well, TDS has currently has a 1-3-1 split push going on, even though TBJ has all of the members in the mid lane. So if they don't start grouping now and try to force a team fight, maybe get a pick onto some of the damage dealers of TBJ, they're definitely just going to keep forcing these mid towers down. You saw it with the tier 1, you're seeing it again with the tier 2. There's not enough people there to defend it, and it's just slowly falling.
And here we go again, looking for the gank onto Ensight. Ensight does not have his stopwatch anymore. If a binding lands, that could be it, but teleporting right into the arms of the waiting TBJ, able to use the blast plant, playing that quite carefully, but not carefully enough, as a very, very precise shot takes him out. Meanwhile, Killer Ken gets dropped as the attack continues, and TBJ are just dominating this map.
Score may be 3-9, but the gold difference is definitely significant. It's almost 6,000 gold. And all on the carries, which is where they need it.
Absolutely. We criticized their draft a bit, but they definitely know how to play it, as they've just gone around the map as a unit looking for picks. They caught out Insight, they picked off Killer Ken, and now they're picking off an inhibitor.
It's definitely an interesting decision by Genio to take the bot turret. There's not much you could have done on defense, but it is a good choice to go ahead and take something for that, even if it is just a tier 1 turret.
So now the Baron call being made, and this, you don't respond to this Baron call. They're doing so well. They have the comp they need in order to pick off people. They have the vision. Don't walk into their territory. You can see this Baron. And Baron easily picked up by TBJ. A 7k gold lead. They have an inhibitor down, looking to get those second tier towers next.
And again, here's just the lack of vision coming out from TDS. They just had no idea that it was even happening. Not that they could have done anything to stop it, right? Maybe a steal, but they just need to get their Warden game up.
So now they're looking to respond with the siege. This is a pretty good time to go after this siege. They should be able to get this final outer tower that's been troubling them for the entire game. So it is something. It is something, and it's better than nothing to get some global gold into the pockets of their team.
Make up a little bit for that gold difference. You can also see that Jin is finished as third item, which is the second energized item of a static shiv. So he's definitely going to be doing a lot of damage to whoever he decides to crit.
And he's definitely going to be running really fast as well. Especially considering he does have... If I could actually see the stat. Yeah, he does have 80% crit. So almost every auto will be critting, and during those autos, he'll get the movement speed boost that he gains from his passive when it comes to attack speed, and just be running around all over this map. He's going to be hard to catch for these team fights. And here we go again. Hit status. Almost caught out, using the elastic slingshot to get to safety.
Yeah, Team TDS, now that I'm looking at it again, they do have a more of a late game comp than TBJ does. But it doesn't look like they're going to be able to get to that point if the turrets keep falling at the current rate.
And we have a fight breaking out. Cosmic Radiance will be used. It's going to defend them during this tower dive. The teleport is being popped. The tower ever so low. Finally drops, but low health bars are coming in. Aldwist able to get away. Here comes the curtain call, opening his sights, trying to take out who he can, but pit status is on the back line. Gets dropped by Fabulous Sparkle, who's going to look to take out the bloblets of Zac. And now Aldwist able to kill that off. Baron getting caught out by Genio. Genio, who hasn't been doing that poorly in this game, looking to pick up the second kill of the game, but look at the base. It's in shambles as Unstoppable Fabulous Sparkles takes out Ensight. Meanwhile, Baron finally falls to Genio. That's going to be a second inhibitor down. And oh my goodness, the domination coming out from Team Blackjack. Yeah, it does look like they're going to go for the end of the game right now. Killer can't really do much. He's a whole item behind his counterpart. And now the Nexus is exposed. Elastic Slingshot to get back in. Cosmic Radiance is down. If they're going to find something, they got to find it now. But the only thing they're finding is death. Fabulous Sparkle running forward. Meanwhile, pit status trying to do something to save the base. It's not going to be enough. There's only so much you can do by yourself. Triple kill picked up by Fabulous Sparkle. 28 minutes into the game. TBJ take game one.
Wow. What a match.
And you absolutely have to give it to TPJ's comp. Even though we criticized it at first, we criticized it a lot. There's one thing that came up. If they play it as a pick comp, it'll work well. That's exactly how they played it. They only roam together, look for picks, pick person off, pick the next person off, take objective, pick person off, take objective. They did that repeatedly to absolutely dominate. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. TDS really needed to be able to group and get those team fights going because that's where their strength lied. And they just couldn't quite get to that point. Genio constantly chasing objectives or kills in the bot lane while the team fight was happening in the other side of the map. It really led to a difference in damage because Genio was probably the strongest one on their team at that time. And I mean, you did get the kill on Baron, but I don't think it was quite worth losing so much of your base for it.
Yeah, I mean, the guy had a 1.0 KDA, 100 for the longest time. True KDA player until the very end, where he finally dies trying to defend his base. He didn't have an impact on the game at all, even though he was, for the most point, bullying Basic TJ. Basic TJ went around the map, caught person, used his ultimate, caught another person. He did it really well. Genio needs to work on how he does his macro game.
It also could be a possibility of just playing picks because Fiora is a champion who, while she can team fight effectively, it's a lot harder than just 1-on-1 or even 1-on-2 dueling. That's Fiora's nickname, the duelist. So you definitely can see it maybe not the greatest pick for a team fight in that regard. But Basic TJ and the Maokai pick, definitely a team fight pick. Definitely not a pick that he was expecting to necessarily win lane against a Fiora with, but way more impactful in the mid to late game.
All right, so we are going to cut to break on that note, and we'll return with game 2 of the Dirty Sanchez's versus Team Blackjack, Risen Esports, Rampage League. We'll see you in a moment. And we have returned Risen Esports Rampage League, getting into Game 2 of the Dirty Sanchez's versus Team Blackjack. I am your caster, Desirux, followed by my co-casters, as we are a TriCast now, Phoenix Zol and Nezware. How you doing, Nezware, joining us on the cast? I've yeah, that is Jax.
So, is this Sejuani a targeted ban, or did they just really not like that jungler?
Well, it is Baron's most played jungler of the season so far, so it's definitely targeted towards him. Permafrost.
Well, Team Blackjack picking up the Jin again.
If it ain't broke, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But this opens up to Zoe. Yeah, so
Another
TDS are mixing it up. You do see that they've gone with something different than they've had in the previous fan phase, the Zoe, the Leona. But meanwhile, Team Blackjack, they're sticking it exactly the same as they had it last time as they lock in that Morgana as well as a Jhin. Same exact.
Well, the pick on Zach was from Team TDS last match, so.
Just kidding. Just jokes. Oh, that was an interesting way to put it.
I mean, it is Team BJ, so.
Oh god.
Right. Yeah, Fiora was definitely playing passive. The fact that she let herself get pushed on a turret in the first few minutes of the game itself was an indicator of how she was playing back, even though she didn't really need to.
Huh. Yeah. What? I'm thrown off by the Tryndamere. Oh, Genio apparently is one of his play champions, even though he doesn't play it that often. Yeah.
And the Nami, so it's looking like another Morgana mid for Team Blackjack.
Ooh. That Shyvana pick has me interested. 'Cause-
Well, let's be honest, you don't really need more than that. You guys can just-
So it seems very much like TDS went for something that's straight up solo queue, to be honest. It looks like they're all just playing whatever at this point. Like I can't really see like the direct synergy other than the bot lane. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting just to look at the entire team comp from both sides, because Team Blackjack is still looking for that good pick team with the Shen, the Morgana, and the Zac. But now Team TDS is actually going for a stronger team fight approach. I could argue that TDS actually has a stronger team fight due to all the CC, but also the damage coming from the Leona, the Shyvana, and the Gnar.
Yeah, there was a Pantheon pick. Yeah, P is next to S, right? Yeah, but the whole scenario you're talking about seems so like everything goes right type team fight. And it's not the type of team fight you're going to get where everything does go right, especially with the way they're playing the game, especially the way TBJ have been playing the game. They're very, very macro focused, very, very big comp focused.
I feel like TDS actually does have a lot stronger of a team comp this time to face TBJ with, because they do have the Zoe and the Leona, and I guess the misfortune to get those picks like they need, especially the Zoe. Like, she can one-shot a lot of the members on the TBJ just by herself, but they also do have the strong team fight CC that they lacked last game with the Gnar and Leona. Even if Shyvana doesn't get a flank, I could still argue that with the well-timed Gnar ultimate and a Leona synergy, they could still put a massive dent in TBJ, especially coupled with the misfortune ult. Right. And we also have to assume that TBJ doesn't engage on the TDS before TDS is ready. Especially if Gnar, for some reason, uses his rage early. That's the prime time for TBJ to start making some picks. Misfortune just has to make sure that she doesn't use her ultimate before all the CC starts coming out, because the Nami ult, if she times it wrong, the Nami ult is just going to interrupt it, and that's going to be a lot of damage missing out from TDS.
Huh.
just needs to make sure she's far back enough to stay safe, as well as close enough to make sure that everyone's in range for her. I feel like the Misfortune ultimate is going to be the real deciding factor, because even if TDS can land all the CC and the damage from their bruisers, they really have to rely on Misfortune to be able to chunk down the health bars.
Oh yeah, I mean TDS at first they had good wardage, at first, but once things started going poorly, they kind of just, especially one of the fights they had in mid, they kind of just decided to force things rather than play the map. They forced a fight knowing Cosmic Radiance was up, and they lost excruciatingly bad. So that's a huge factor in this, is keeping that composure and knowing that you got to play the map before you play the fight.
The Nami pick is interesting with the bot lane because the power is going to be largely on TDS for bot. They have definitely a stronger engage and even stronger poke, I would argue, with the Misfortune versus the Jhin. So unless they get jungle pressure, I feel like TBJ is definitely going to be on the back foot for a little while until they can get into the team fights.
Oh, you're gonna have a level race in the bot lane. Once you see that level 2 come out, if it's TDS, expect them to just try and cheese out a kill right then and there.
Right.
That's a lot of potency they have when it comes to damage.
On the flip side, you do have the Leona's CC coming in. Even at level 2, you have the Leona CC, then you have the Misfortune slow, and you really just can't get away from that as quickly. So even at level 2 for both sides is just whoever can, like it was stated, just whoever can get there first and see who can engage. They're really going to have to respect which wave is pushing faster than the other one.
Or all this talk can be for nothing and they just both level 2 at the same time and don't even try and find a fight.
Exactly. It really depends too on how some early trades go, because I know that Nami has the ability to very much out-trade the ADC and even Leona. With just a simple W and an auto, you already chunk the AD carry and you heal yourself back up for any damage they do to you. So it also depends on who takes the more poke in the lane. Because you have the Misfortune Q, especially if she's going to get a bounce off a minion, that's going to be a huge amount of damage on either target. But if you get the Nami who's aggressive without any punishment, that can also spell danger for TDS. Right. it's a difficult lane for sure, but from what I've seen in my personal experience, Shen has the most success against Gnar. Actually, when Gnar is in rage mode, if Gnar misses the stun, Shen can easily go in on that and just counterattack and completely nullify a lot of Gnar's damage, because when he's giant, it's really hard to be able to stay away from Shen. So either you have to use the passive transformation passively and play back, or you can do it aggressively and try to trade.
I think it more depends on how fast the Shen can pick up his Tiamat, because that's always been a huge power spike moment for Shen players. Getting that Tiamat, suddenly it's like, this guy's supposed to be a tank, and yet he's taking my entire health bar. Once he gets that, plus depending on how he plays the lane, it could be an easy win out from there, if he can get it fast enough and if he can play it well enough.
We also have to see if TDS's top laner decides to play in the same playstyle as last game, because the split pushing on a Gnar is definitely what you don't want to see. Gnar is a very teamfight center champion, and having him push a side lane is just a waste of a champion pick.
We also have to see if they can do the draft this time.
Right. Right. We also should, when that happens, we should see Genio being able to push that lane and get some tower damage, because if not, then it's really just a waste of potential pressure, especially with Shen creating pressure elsewhere on the map. If you're not taking advantage of that like we saw last game, then it's just not going to be good for your team.
The other thing to point out is, if the Stand United goes off and Genio does notice and try and stop it, he needs to be in Mega Gnar form. God, I can't talk English right now. He needs to be in Mega Gnar form in order to be able to cancel the Stand United whatsoever. So this does put a lot more room for error in basic TJ getting off a pretty good Stand United.
Right. Especially if there's a fight going on elsewhere on the map while Gnar's in Mega form. You can't exactly just back off from that and ult. You have to wait until he's on cooldown, or you have to get yourself out of that position.
And he has to be responsive as well. Genio can counter the Stand United with the teleport, but if he's not in Mega Gnar form, he's not as useful as he should be for a teamfight phase.
Right. It's all too often these days you see Gnars try to teleport into a fight and they are still on cooldown from being hypered. So they can't actually even generate rage at all, much less contribute to a team fight with a teleport. He needs to make sure he controls and monitors how much rage he has if he wants to try to do that play. And if he doesn't have enough rage, he wants to make sure he's getting some damage on the turret. The interesting interaction with the Morgana and the Zoe is that the Morgana's Black Shield, you have to actually use it before you get hit with the bubble. So she needs to be very proactive with that, because she can either use the bubble to like nullify some of the Zoe's paddle star damage, or you can try to use the Black Shield to somehow deflect the Sleepy Bubble Trouble. Sleepy Trouble Bubble, yes, thank you.
Like a trouble bubble.
Yeah. It's interesting to see though, the Insight actually took Cleanse this game. Most likely for the Morgana snare, but it could be used actually for a lot of things, especially for the Shen taunt onto the backline or the Zac CC. Although Zac CC actually cannot be cleansed, if I'm correct. Well, you know, I was under the impression that cleanse does not include airborne or suppression. Let's see.
I think another thing to point out. Though is the wave clear on Zoe. It's abysmal.
Exactly.
Not that much. You have to land the pedal star on minions that are close together for it to even be considered wave clear. And
Most of the time that is the case.
Along with that, choosing to take the clarity, not the clarity, the cleanse. Oh, I'm going back here. Yeah, choosing to take the cleanse also hurts in the fact that you get pushed, then Morgana goes and roams, looks to go after bot lane or something. Zoe can't really do much about that. Not really a mobile champion, doesn't have a teleport to respond, gonna have problems in terms of like trying to clear the way fast enough. It's a pretty open map for Sparkle Fabulous.
Actually, yeah. Zoe doesn't necessarily need to have a teleport in inventory. She can just pick one up.
Spellbook.
Now, the way that Spellbook works, if I'm correct, is if even if you use a summoner spell and you change it, the new summoner spell is off cooldown, correct? So theoretically, so she could easily just use cleanse in lane and then come back with a TP later, fully off cooldown. We're just gonna have to see how the positioning works out here, because TBJ does have the Zac as opposed to Shyvana as their junglers, so they are going to have a lot more jungle pressure mid pre-6. And Zoe, even though she's very annoying to lane against, she can be ganked early, especially since. And even with her ultimate, she still comes back to the same spot anyway. It's just a matter of how. Right. It's just a matter of how they position in the lane early on, because the Morgana has to position to be able to dodge the Zoe projectiles, but the Zoe has to position to make sure that Zac isn't going to be on her at any time in the game.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Ooh, surprising this time. TDS not going for their 4 stopwatch.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Why not make it 5 at that point? Make it even better. Just go. Everyone go mid lane and pop it at the same time under the tower. Yeah.
6 minutes. Yes.
Ultimate disrespect.
Minions have spawned.
It's interesting to note that even though Zoe did take cleanse first, Zoe's passive combined with the cleanse means not only if she gets caught will she be able to get out of that, but she can also turn it into an offensive advantage.
I mean,
It is
even
interesting
then,
to note that Gnar did take the Airy Keystone.
oh, that is interesting.
So this bot lane looks like they both hit level 2, and it looks like nothing at all has happened. So I guess the analysis was for naught.
All that hope for nothing. And awkwardly enough, pressure is starting to go in favor of TVJ in the bot lane. Even though the push is still there for TDS, the threat of just having a ranged support starts to hurt the fact that you've taken Leona. Over time, it becomes less and less significant, but in the early game, if you're not using it to engage, you're getting punished.
And it's definitely not doing them any favors, the fact that Killer Ken is letting the wave push, so even if Leona was confident enough to go in, she'd be definitely taking a lot more minion aggro than needed.
Yeah, but this is a good window of opportunity for TBJ. As long as they can keep poking down negative, they don't have to worry about that hard engage, because they could probably get a kill off of that engage. Bouncing wave heal
Ebb and
thing.
flow. Ebb and flow. But yeah, Nami is precisely annoying just for that reason. She can out-trade you even as an AD carry in the early game. You auto her and she doesn't take any damage and actually hurts you more than you hurt her.
Ooh, is Baron really thinking about? Okay, okay. Yeah.
It's definitely good. It's definitely good for TDS, especially with the Shyvana on their team. She's going to be looking to take that dragon very early, possibly solo.
Ooh, and this is looking kind of bad for Basic. Flashes in a very weird way. Wouldn't have hit him either way, but he's alive regardless. Yeah.
Although no warding will definitely seem to bite him in the butt here.
That binding missing really hurt, but still burns the flash from Genio.
I don't feel like the flash was strictly necessary as the CC was already gone and TJ was too far behind to land a taunt.
That punishment. And the bubbles landing flush repeatedly is just ridiculously terrible to deal with. But meanwhile, if we take a look at the mid lane, look at that CS differential. It's ridiculous how well Insight's doing in this lane matchup.
After you get a Zoe, once she gets a couple items, even like right now she doesn't have any, but just the points measuring up in her Q from her skills, it's adding up, and you can honestly, if you can position her right, you can just one-shot entire parts of the wave, and it's just so easy to farm.
And the punishment continues, forces the flash and the heal. TDS's bot lane not doing so hot.
Even walking under the tower just to get the second bounce off and not taking any tower shots is just absolutely ridiculous.
But we do have to give credit where credit is due, and Killer Ken is keeping up in farm. Is actually, if he catches most of this wave, will be ahead in farm despite all the aggression. And now Baron caught out in his own jungle. Sparkle Fabulous looking to try and do some defense and uses the blast plant. That was clever. And there we go again. Dark Binding lands. They're going to look to layer the CC properly, but waits a little bit too long to use that taunt. Pipe is going to bop over the wall again, and now Insight getting some punishment on the Sparkle Fabulous, but the Binding lands, able to use the stopwatch, but it's enough to get the disengage, having to burn the flash as well. And now Basic TJ also caught out. Sleepy Trouble Bubble does miss. Battlestar going out, doesn't land onto Sparkle Fabulous. Basic TJ gets out by the skin of his teeth.
In that scenario, I felt like exactly.
Doesn't look like we're done just yet. The fight's still going on. Genio might be cut out next. Insight barely able to get away thanks to that cleanse. And now we're done. We're good.
In that scenario, I don't think that Insight necessarily needed to use the...
Oh, we're not done just yet as Fabulous Sparkle gets caught out, making it rain. It's not going to be enough with the bullet time. Now we're done. I think we're sure.
It's interesting to note that once again, pit status is just, even though he's getting caught out in a couple of spots, like just continuously counter jungling. Like, and this was Baron last game, and now at the Shyvana pick against the Zac pick, he's just taking the jungle. He has all those wards all over the place, and just denying him farm, which is what he needs to be doing.
And this is something... Go ahead. Yeah, still though, Genio playing the range decently well, but is getting punished quite a bit. Taunt goes out, doesn't land onto Genio. Will get punished for that taunt attempt. Still Basic TJ. He wants to be the aggressor here. And that's a solo dragon picked up by the dragon.
We're definitely going to see a lot of that. We're definitely going to see a lot of that unless TVJ gets some good warding on that. They did have a control ward in the pit and they took the river scuttle, so they couldn't quite see what was happening, and they probably didn't even expect it, but that's always something you need to be careful of when you're playing against a Shyvana. If at any point during the game you cannot see that what's going on in that drag pit and there's something in there, you need to be able to get the vision on it. It was an interesting interaction with that blast code.
Every time you say Baron, it completely throws me off, by the way. Possible.
But you can definitely see that now with Genio on the top lane, just the continual Gnar transformations and those small bonuses in health that he keeps regaining. He's actually able to start whittling down basic TJ.
And we
Not
might have an
necess-
engagement. Ooh, the binding goes out. Will they layer the CC properly this time? And this one's gonna be first blood picked up for Baron. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, down goes Eldwis. Fabulous Sparkle able to stay alive, but after losing his support.
Right, and the lack of vision going into the enemy jungle, especially coupled with the lack of sight of the enemy laners, is just ultimately led to that demise. Like, if you look at the top jungle right now, there's like absolutely no wards anywhere in the river or the lanes, and he's just going in there too confident of what he can do, not realizing the fact that he just got ganked.
Yeah, Sparkle Fabulous looking to do a gank of his own, but no one to really back it up, so it doesn't really get too much off of it. Meanwhile, a gank going off onto Ensight. Ensight actually looking to be the aggressor in this one. Gets caught out, does have flash up, should be able to flash over the wall if danger comes. Dark Binding just getting off cooldown, uses the flash then.
It's important to note that MF actually finished her first item as well as another serrated Dirk on top of it, while as Jin only has a Sword and a Zeal. It's going to be a huge damage difference, especially coupled with the MF Q.
Cosmic Binding? Is there a bard in this game? Okay, so we do have some pressure going on into this bot lane as we have 4 members of TDS looking to siege onto it.
Looks like a double ward there in those bushes. In bot lane.
Does look like it might be for naught. They do have the advantage of having that Zoe constantly pressure over the wall, especially using that Sleepy Trouble bubble. But here, over the wall comes Pit Status, and out goes the bullet time, deleting Elswis. Yeah, on top lane, basic TJ gets slammed into a wall, but in not too much danger. Or is
You
he?
can definitely see with a Gnar pick into the Shen pick, he's just pressuring him so much that he's not actually able to use his ultimate for these team fights, which is what he wanted to be doing. At this point, he's so low that if he wanted, even if he wanted to make an ult play, he couldn't. Because he's basically being tower dove.
Speaking of that, taunt does miss, but here comes Baron. Looking to save his ally, but that's not a good way to save him as he sends basic TJ to the executioner.
Exactly. Not only destroying your teammate, but also giving the enemy champion a way out. It's just
A little exchange. Not much to say about that one. The old "I made you think."
Looks like that was Morgana's TP.
So it does look like we're gonna have that dragon set up once again.
Just
And to
absolutely
surprise,
no vision.
how fun it is.
It looks like TBJ does suspect something may be happening, but they're a little bit slow in responding. They're not quite sure. They don't have any wards on the dragon, and they used a blast cone.
Wow. Oh my. Yeah. Zenith Blade goes in. The stopwatch used, but Fabulous Sparkle eats a lot of damage during that. They're still looking to chase onto him, and another kill picked up. Native grabbing that one. This bot lane is suffering, especially the support. 0-3-0.
It's especially something you see with people who play aggressively with Nami, is that they have so much pressure in the early game that they don't consider the fact that it translates later on to actually the favor of the enemy team, because you cannot just be aggressive with Nami into a Leona and a Misfortune. You're gonna get caught out eventually, and since you're such a squishy support, you're definitely going to die for it.
I mean, that's... And a lot of that is just in favor of the whole melee versus tank matchup anyway. You give up that early game, but a fight breaking out. Baron gets caught, put into his Bloblet form. And here comes Sparkle. Fabulous misses the binding, but it doesn't matter. Now stunned up, caught up, and destroyed is going to be Genio, but he's actually able to get Meganar just in time to take out Eldwitch, and now uses the Blast Plant to get over the wall. What a great play to come out of Genio 1.
That was so clutch. Just the very last second, he uses a, I believe it was his Q, just to proc his Meganar and save his life.
Oh man.
As well as the fact that Ensight was able to use a sleepy trouble bubble in order to stop the Shen from continuing to damage him, so that he could actually get to that Meganar and save his life.
Poor Fabulous. Uh-oh. Yeah, TDS.
The only way to really nullify that is just good warding, good vision, knowing where she is so you can know how to position yourself away from it. But as we can see, the warding on the map is very slim to none for either team.
Yeah, we are now seeing how Team BJ plays under this type of pressure. They're now trying to make an aggressive move, but here comes the save. Not going to be quite enough as Eldwitch takes out Genio. The taunt on the pit status, but the bullet time rings true. Almost takes out Sparkle Fabulous. Eldwitch trying to get out of there, not find his 5th death, but finds it anyway thanks to the double up. And now TBJ are running with their tails tucked as they have to concede this tower.
Oh, the taunt forward. Taunt straight into that, just face tank it all. So unnecessary.
He wanted to save his ADC, but he was the one that needed saving. Speaking of saving, will Native have the dancing shoes? No, not going to work out.
And it's exactly how we predicted it before the game even started. You know, the Zoe is making the picks, she's getting a lot of damage off, she's harassing them, and then the rest of the team TDS is like just following up. They're getting they're starting the team fights on whoever else is left.
fabulous sparkle. Getting caught out. Meanwhile, in the top lane, basic TJ caught out. You definitely don't want to fight a Shyvana in this state. As she goes into Dragon form, looking to finish off TJ. TJ does not get saved. Gets chunked away by pit status. Oh no. Ooh, Fabulous taking that shot instead. Bullet time goes out and finishes the job. Now Baron jumping over the wall to get to safety. So much pressure out of TDS. Where was this team in game one?
They're so far ahead that they don't necessarily need him to be able to win, but it definitely wouldn't be a problem if he came up. Although now he did force Shen to come bot to answer to this, so TDS will be looking to take the drag next. Pretty much for free, unless of course the Shen can get a good ult onto somebody who is trying to go into the drag pit. But again, a lack of vision from coming out from TBJ is just giving so many objectives over for free.
Oh, please, not like this. Down goes Eldwith. Baron jumps in with the elastic slingshot, but there's not much for him to do, not much for him to save. And once again, using the Paddle Star, trying to chunk someone out. The damage that Insight does is absolutely immaculate.
Especially the... And it's a complete one-shot on the Nami.
Especially when that Nami's 170 and got destroyed in the bot lane.
The problem with the engage into the jungle there was that the Shen was even still split pushing bot when he could have definitely perhaps made a play onto the Morgana, who could have possibly turned that fight around with her ultimate. It looks like perhaps she's building an Athene's as well. Some Chalice item. Not usually what you see on a Morgana. Well, against a Zoe, you definitely, especially a Morgana, you definitely want to be taking Banshees. Gives you at least one Q or one Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Just negated, but at this point, the amount of magic resist you can build to try to counter Zoe won't matter too much, especially since she does tree damage when she procs a Sleepy Trouble Bubble.
I mean, nothing's going to counter this more than just having proper vision. Exactly. Allowing Insight to roam around in the jungle and just happily throw out bubbles, that's only going to be, you know, the prelude to the demise of this team.
What's interesting to see is that now that they're getting a little bit more vision, they don't have vision where they need it. They're not putting the vision around the areas that they're staying in. So like, Insight right now is able just to walk in there.
This is something that they actually need. Team Blackjack able to finally get the shutdown onto Insight, and this might give them a little bit of time to finally establish that vision and finally catch some objectives. And they're going to go out with the Soul Shackles, looking to get onto Native. Bullet Time's going to go out. It's going to do a lot of damage. Will it be enough? It is enough to get the Bloblet form out of Baron, but still in the fight is Team Blackjack as pit status going forward. The curtain call opens up. Killer Ken is caught out. Last bullet goes out and lands flush onto Killer Ken and caught by the binding. It's gonna be status, able to get the unstoppable out of turning into dragon form. Basic TJ survives against the kill, but drops in the tower immediately after. Now Eldswith trying to prevent having another death. So far, it's been a 4-for-1 exchange and a huge turn of events for Team Blackjack. Oh no. Not again. Oh, the binding
Oh.
lands, but so does the Battle Star. Down is Baron, so does the bubble. And now Genio trying to go hard. He is going to get that Rage Bar back up. Will he go in with it? No, he chooses not to. Chooses to run away instead, but Native's coming. Doesn't land the Zenith Blade, but instead gets a Dark Binding and a bubble for her worries. But still, a pretty good exchange, especially since they took down the jungler, but they got the mid laner for it once again.
But here we see once again that Genio is off split pushing a side lane and not even really taking too much damage onto the turret, and he really needs to be in these team fights. He's playing Gnar. I mean, Gnar can split push, but he's definitely way more useful in team fights, and he had the TP up and chose not to use it. And that was probably the main reason why they lost that team fight, is they just did not have Genio there.
No, not even that. The main reason was Insight just got cocky. He stood in a bad spot. He got caught by the bubble. He got caught by the binding. He got caught by the whole team just slamming his face.
Right.
There goes the bubble. And out goes the bullet time. Once again, we are going to have a fight as Baron looks to get into the middle of it. The Soul Shackles goes out. It isn't going to really land much, but it does get Killer Ken. And now inside his pit status as he goes into all 5 members, looking to melt what he can. Shut down is the ADC. Pit status going after Elswitz. The Stand United used onto Elswitz, but they're losing members. They're losing health. They're losing time as they all drop one by one. And this should be the ace as into the wall goes Baron and down to the floor goes his health bar.
And once again, it's important to note that there's just no vision from TBJ in the jungle. Like they can TDS can set up these plays and not have to worry about it because they know exactly where the enemy team is, and the enemy team has no idea where they're setting up.
Imagine how well these fights would play if Genio actually realized he had teleport. Has it been used once this game other than get back to lane?
I haven't seen anything. Okay, so now we see some words from TBJ coming onto the Baron pit, which is exactly what they need to make sure that the enemy team is not doing, because if they give up vision in that area like they have on every dragon this game, which by the way is up to 4, then that Baron's just going to go down just as quickly. Shyvana definitely prioritizing that dragon control, especially since it stacks up her passive so nicely. She's just getting tankier right every minute that she takes one. See, that's what Genio needs to be doing right now. He needs to be pushing that bot lane. Instead, he's putting wards down when he knows that most of the members of the enemy team are actually around the Baron pit currently. And he needs to be pushing in that turret. And if a team fight breaks out, he needs to use that TP.
It's actually really surprising that they're sending Sparkle Fabulous to reply to that instead of Basic TJ, who has to stand united, who has to teleport. But there we go. Sparkle playing aggressively, using the Soul Shackles, looking to try and go on to Genio. Genio taking the tower aggro. He does have the ultimate, slams Sparkle Fabulous, but he's actually still under tower. Stand United's going to go out. This might be the Baron call to come out from TDS as they choose to go after this Baron. Getting the Stand United out, this should be their Baron. I can't see how TBJ would actually respond to this. Ooh. And this could be a great catch out. They manage to get the juggler and they drop out. Pit status, but Baron falling critically low. Bullet time doesn't go down. It's not enough to pick up Baron just yet as Basic TJ running off on the backside. He does get caught by the bubble and taken out by the Paddle Star.
It's interesting to note that the TDS actually split their focus. Leona and Shyvana were still doing the Baron while the rest of the team were turning to fight. It was just a lack of communication. They needed to either all turn or all do the Baron. They couldn't just split off like that. That's what resulted in the Shyvana dying because she got too low trying to do the Baron with no help.
Oh no. It's one of the saddest weeks to go. I thought Sparkle was going to get that for a second.
But hey, we did notice that Genio actually teleported into that fight.
Hey! Oh man.
Yeah, she's running out of mana. She's also out of mana, and Zoe relies heavily on that to be able to clear the waves, and if she gets possibly ganked at that point in time, she didn't have enough to safely stay there, so it was a good choice.
Oh, that is so depressing. Luckily, backup does come Basic, really feeling the pressure of that Frozen Mallet Nara.
Especially since Genio doesn't have a teleport anymore.
As long as it survived the bullet time. And we commented on this team comp being very haphazard. And it feels like that really sums up this game. It's just so much going on the map. They're going all over the place, making plays in different ways, and it's working for them.
There is another Infernal Drink coming up very soon, and it looks like, based on the warding and the positioning, that Shyvana is looking to take that.
Yeah, caught out, going for the Soul Shackles. There comes the Dragon form, but being in the middle of three members is not going to do you any favors. Pit status barely able to survive. Basic TJ has the Stand United, didn't use it onto Sparkle Fabulous, and now the exposed inhibitor is under attack by Genio.
It's also the lack of the Zanyas on the Morgana. She decided to build an Athene's and a Hex Tech Proto Belt, which is
The Proto Belt confuses me a lot.
It's just for a little bit more burst, usually, but it doesn't make any sense, especially when you cannot survive into this team comp to begin with. You definitely want to get a Zanyas if you're going to be flash ulting into the middle of the enemy team.
Yeah, most definitely.
His inhibitor has been destroyed.
Exactly.
To be fair, the game is going at a slower pace. Team Blackjack are playing, well, better from behind than TDS did, but they're still in a pretty bad situation as it is.
A lack
This is
of
the-
vision coming from.
Yeah, that was a very suicidal move right there.
It's kind of funny to note that there's a control ward in TBJ's jungle that all of them walked over and nobody took out. This is sitting right next to the red buff camp and everybody walked over it. Nobody decided to clear it. So that's just free vision on TDS's side.
What's Insight
Genio's-
doing here?
Genio's Meganar farm is out of the way now, so unless he does something right now, they're going to have to be a little bit more careful. As he will not have that up for at least another minute. She has TP.
Yeah, they have to go in at this point. They have it's one of their only shots to get an advantage in this game.
Mid's pushing it as well, so Shen has to not only clear bot, but try to clear mid. And Zoe's shoving in top. And TDS is still hovering around this dragon. They definitely want that. Shyvana definitely wants that, especially.
When we are going to see the fight break out, Bubble lands onto the Nars. Bullet time going out, deletes the Morgana. Now Pro Sticks going hard on Aldwick. Meanwhile, Fabulous Sparkle gets caught out by Genio. Is going to fall to one more auto attack. That's 2 members down. And this is why they should have just went in when they had the chance. They let TDS pick the fight, and they're picking it well. There it is.
There it is. This could possibly be the end of the game as well. Looking like it.
Yeah. All carries down, only 2 tanks left. And in about 40 minutes into this game, we do see TDS looking to get revenge on this match as the Nexus falls. And we set this series up for 1-1 apiece.
Wow, that was such a long game. The advantage from TDS definitely could have been pressed a little bit faster. They could have recognized, like Zoe did, she was pushing that side lane exactly like somebody needed to. And it took her a little bit while to get up there, especially since she was at the Drake to begin with. So she had to walk across the map to be able to push that wave in. Definitely could have started the split push sooner. I might have been able to end the game faster. You definitely needed to engage onto the TDS when Meganar went down, especially since Misfortune was walking around in the front line. It would have been an amazing Zac slingshot to be able to get the CC down, to be able to get the team fight going. But sadly, that didn't happen.
Jesus. And we have returned in this very hot series, 1-1 apiece. Team Dirty Sanchez's versus Team Blackjack. We are now into the final game. Match point for both sides. I am Desrex, followed by my co-casters Phoenix Zal and Nesware. And what a series we've had so far. Both games being stomps. What has to change? What will get these teams to win? We'll start with Nesware. Yeah.
Interestingly enough, they still are banning Sejuani even though they have the first pick, which they could have very well taken that for themselves.
Yup.
Jin coming back in for TVJ. It's interesting because he doesn't quite pick anything else, yet he's not the most effective on it.
Yeah. And that's another thing I need to comment on for the bot lane. I think his Jhin was fine. He did a pretty good job on it, especially game 1. And game 2, he didn't die that much. He did decent positioning, decent plays, but overall his team was just getting slaughtered. And one of the big issues with that was the support pick. Aldswitz, he needs to be on a tank. The way he plays, you need to put that guy on a tank. You can't have him on something squishy like Nami, because even when he was behind and it was definitive that he would get stomped if he got too close, he would still get too close.
And it seems that the ban that we were missing was a Shyvana, in fact. Lulu. Could possibly be to counter the Echo, not necessarily the Misfortune, but it's definitely going to be an interesting lane bot lane because TVJ is going to need to play back very hard.
Yeah, it will play a little bit more aggressive than the Nami did. Lulu is much better at bringing on that aggression and constantly punishing that Leona early on. But then you don't have that sustain that the Nami brought. So they're going to have to play their trades a little bit more carefully.
Exactly.
Yeah, I am loving that. There is so much potential when it comes to taking that Rammus pick, because look at what they got. They have so much that can outright deny the Echo. Once the Echo comes in, if he gets taunted, if he gets polymorphed, if he gets binded by the Maokai snare, that's it. They have a pretty good response for what's been drafted in terms of what's going to be diving in.
However, they do not have a good response to the Misfortune. They don't have very many people who can get onto the backline aside from possibly Rammus, possibly Maokai, depending on how well they flank and position. But Misfortune is definitely going to have a lot of a lot of peel for herself, and quite frankly, unless Orianna for some reason decides to just go and dive the Misfortune, she's definitely going to have she's definitely going to do a lot of damage before anybody is able to get to her.
No, it's not. It's Arcane. Yeah, you've been playing that for a while.
Right. We're just going to have to assume that the Rammus is not playing to stop the Echo, but rather than Misfortune, because if he doesn't, Maokai can easily get kited or CC'd out of the way, and then Misfortune's alone to run free.
Yeah, I mean, usually Jarvans do. I see where you're going. Usually Jarvans do go more aggressive with their builds. They take the electrocute. They go with the warrior enchantment. They look to build for the damage before they start building the tankiness. So even with the composition drafted, even if Jarvan does go hard and instantly gets blown up, if he gets his Cataclysm off alone in a good enough spot, that's already his job done.
Especially if he can get it onto the Lulu or the Orianna. Those are highly immobile, important characters in this team comp that they can't really afford to lose. Essentially what TBJ's team fight boils down to is the Orianna and the Rammus combination, because otherwise you're just looking to make picks. Exactly. The TDS definitely is looking like they have the better team fight.
They do got the better team fight, but only if they get the right setup.
Right.
The composition drafted by Team Blackjack is very, we're going to play this front to back, we're going to kite you out and try and kill you at the same time type thing.
Right.
So as long as they play to the way their composition is drafted to play, they can have an advantage in that. They can take out the Jarvan quite quickly, then they can just work on the melees that are jumping into Leona, Echo, and Shen. Before, meanwhile, you're going to have Maokai diving in for the Misfortune and trying to interrupt that. So they have something that can work against the composition TDS is drafted, but if TDS gets their if they have the scattered fight like we had in Game 2, TDS will absolutely dominate it.
So hopefully the Shen does make a little more, some more proactive standing guidance, like we said, especially with the
How you
Jarvan.
press R. So now I gotta ask, based on these team compositions drafted, and based on the results from the last 2 games, who do you guys see winning this and why? We'll start with Nesware. All right, Phoenix Null.
It's hard to say. I also think that TDS may have an advantage here, but I also feel like TBJ definitely has a stronger. I'm not necessarily sure how. I feel like the Rammus combined with the Orianna is an extremely powerful combo, especially since Orianna can then get an ult maybe onto the backline, as well as the Maokai and the Lulu protecting the Jhin and the Orianna better than the Leona and the Shen and the Jarvan can possibly protect like the TDS's carries. So in a team fight perspective, maybe TDS, but in like a split push pick kind of perspective, I would think TBJ would be the one to come
Oh,
out
come
top.
on. You got to give me your definitive answer. You can't.
All right, well then in that case, I think that TBJ will come out on top of this.
All right, and I'm personally going to go for TBJ on this one as well. Even though the points that Neswer said are absolutely true, it's an easier comp to play, and with the aggressive style they played, it's easy to pull off as well. But I do think with the draft that they have, it's also easy to be over-aggressive and get punished for that over-aggression. They don't have the same tools they had to be as aggressive. They don't have that Zoe, they don't have the Shyvana, and those were 2 things that really enabled that aggression. So I have to go with TBJ. I think they can quell the beast this time.
I'm definitely interested to see what happens top lane, because you have
And we got the believer, the one who wants TDS to get their first victory. So you know, every ranked game I play, I ban Echo. Throwing that out there. I hate that champ.
Well, I guess you're on his hit list now.
Anymore. And so we are tied up in the series, 1-1 apiece. This will be the deciding game. We are going to get into low screen and take a look at those keystones.
No more Gnar with Airy, correct? Do you see?
And
Yeah, the bonus healing on crits definitely helps that. It felt like a weaker version of Warlords in the very beginning when it first came out. Yeah. So we are seeing what we did predict. The Jarvan running Electrocute. He's probably going to also run a few damage items before he decides to build any sort of tank, although Jarvan champion is diverse in the fact that he can do really anything build-wise.
yeah, you know, AP Jarvan
Well,
pulling that one out.
you
Get
know,
the runic echoes.
just walk around the back, put a flag down.
Yeah, depending on his aggression, which this dude was really aggressive. I expect a warrior enchant. I'm gonna go as far as to expect a Duskblade from this dude.
Looks like we only have 3 stopwatches this game. Oh, quite the comedian.
Oh,
possibly an invade coming
30
in.
seconds until minions spawn.
Oriana's gonna face check.
That was happening. Yeah, and that's the main thing. Once you get off the fountain, you get to the spot where you're going to scout. You just don't go to your turret and camp around and then eventually walk into the brush.
Not only that, but she was laid off of spawn as well. So even if she had just gone straight there, she would have sprinted straight in.
No way. It's not going to be like this. Oh.
2 kills
What
on a
a-
single invade.
Oh, TBJ. Can I change my mind? I need to change my pick, please. A TDS is going to do it all along. I knew it.
It's crazy
we
this early in the game. They already have 1,000 gold lead just from those 2 kills.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you spot an invade after watching your mid laner die, but you decide to just hang around anyway. Thing to note, by the way, Rammus did go with the red start this time. I'm not sure if it was due to fear of them still being at the blue buff. I would assume that was it, but we'll see if he's trying to do something unique instead. Oh my goodness, this game, this series.
It's already.
He's roaming up. Does have his flag and drag. Is going to look to do this. Flashes up for basic TJ. Gets hit by the flag and drag. He's running so low. Chooses to flash. Still gets autoed by latency. Yeah. And that's a 3-assist Shen at 3 minutes into the game.
I mean, CS difference wise, Shen has like 4 times as much as Maokai does, and it's just the start of the game. Comes back, TP's back to lane, gets traded down to half health. Like, this cannot be going good for him. And Elduis is actually playing a pretty aggressive Lulu, forcing bot lane to the wow, okay. Killer Ken's already used a health potion and still getting chunked down. Leona not quite actually responding to that at all with any sort of aggression or punishment.
So, if he could catch the twisted advance at the same time flag and drag goes off, he can ignore the knockup at the very least. But he's got to be careful with his timing.
Oh man,
There we go again with the relentless pressure that Gio is putting on. And now Native taking a lot of punishment, as well as the top lane basic TJ being punished, has almost no mana, is going to need to take a back pretty soon. Yeah. Ooh, and Sparkle almost walking into that stun. Now basic TJ, critically low. One more auto attack would finish him, choosing not to dedicate to it. But
Basic
once
TJ
again,
not
he's being
like
sent
this.
back.
No TP and down by still 3 times as much CS as your laner. That's an
Yeah, I believe Eldswitz is a pretty intelligent player when it comes to this game, but just he is so much more meant for a tank. And yeah. And we're going to start seeing that pretty soon as level 6 is starting to draw closer and closer. There should be an engage that will eventually come out from Native, followed by the bullet time. And you can bet it's going to be on Eldswitz. We take a look on the map in the river. We do see a roam coming out of Insight, looking to go towards the bot lane, and there is the flash forward. Solar Flare lands flush, and as I said, Eldswitz will be the target. Killer Ken picks up that one.
There's the punishment for playing so aggressively.
Ooh. Yeah, fight breaks out in the top lane. Both ultimates used for the jungler and the top laner. And to go back onto that point, I feel like they should have waited a little bit longer, not for the bullet time, because the bullet time, she still had half her bar before she would get level 6. But just so Insight can get an assist at least. Comes down, didn't even get anything from that.
Just a scare tactic, right?
To be fair, he does get EXP for just being near the kill. And look at that Dark Still picked up by Insight as well. He means business. Ooh. Yeah, good amount of burst damage coming out from the bot lane of TBJ. And now it does look like they're setting up a dive. And there we go. Solar Flare used. Bullet Time's going to be used as well, but there goes the Wild Growth. Will he get the Shockwave? Shockwave used, but the 4th bullet hits the tower, and that is a wasted chance for a kill. But out comes the current call, landing onto Native, making it up. Whew. Here we go. Possibly a gank on the Baroness. But they are looking to possibly set up for the dragon, at least get vision on it. And once again, these ganks constantly coming. He used the twisted advance perfectly for that flag and drag there. Yeah. Oh my goodness. If he only had the arcane smash up, it would have been huge. Instead, gets taken out by the cataclysm. Being a tower, Baron, huh? He didn't use defensive ball throw.
Oh,
Fancy. On top of that, he went for that taunt without defensive ball curl. He had it up, but he didn't use it. He just taunted and didn't bother curling. I knew TDS was gonna do it. I had him the whole time.
Genio just able to actually play a lot of these like top laners just super aggressively too.
Ooh.
Like even Shen, he's out trading a Maokai super hard.
Yeah, this gank is not gonna happen. Even if they get the taunt, they don't have the damage to finish him off. So they get the taunt, and that's it right there. That's the end of the game. They dedicated all that time. They sacrificed minions just to taunt him once and take a slither of health more. And here it comes once again. Baron can't even back him up because he's being attacked in the jungle meanwhile. Now Basic trying to run away, has no more mana. This is going to be the end of him as Pit Status takes him out. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, we see the end of Elswith as he's able to use the Wild Growth just in time and flashes out. Critically done.
If I'm not mistaken, TDS is the side that has not won a whole game in their whole career, right?
Whole career, all 1 month of it.
Or at least this season.
Yeah, this is it right here. Oh. Yeah, just joint efforts to shut down Baron. And will he burn to death? Almost.
10 health.
And we might see a tower dive coming out. Sparkle Fabulous able to dodge the stun, getting a lot of damage on the end site.
The CS difference from the top lanes and the junglers are starting to really stack up. You have your tanks not able to get the items that they need, and you have the enemy teams, like, basically assassin and also tank getting the items, and it's just gonna mean death for your carries. Even Killer Ken, he already has his first lethality on him, has another Saray Dirk on the way, and you know, Fabulous Sparkle just finished his hand cannon, not even going for the Infinity Edge first. I thought he had finished it. 200.
I'm seeing that too.
No, that's yeah. He finished it. He finished it before he backed. I don't know why he had that on there.
Okay, there we go. It's all fixed. So we do have a game coming out, looking to get onto the native. Doesn't land with the power ball, and the flash comes out. Out comes the ball, and out comes the curtain call. Looking to land every shot he can, but unfortunately it's not going to be enough to take out Killer Ken, and the siege on this tower begins. And speaking of landing things, these ganks have been non-stop in the top lane, just looking to delete basic TJ, and out goes. Is he gonna get a kill?
Oh no!
Shutdown picked up by basic TJ. Oh no! They will not stop bullying him. Oh my goodness. This is cyberbullying what's happening in the top lane.
Basically a free lane for them too, because nobody else on the side of TBJ is responding to that early enough to be able to get up there and save the tower. They're trying to make plays happen bot, which is not a bad idea, but you really need to put all your eggs in one basket at this point, because Orianna's behind, especially against the Echo, and Jin's the only one on this team with a decent gold advantage. Not even advantage, he's just even. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a very rough game for TBJ. And it all fell apart so early, too, with that jungle invade where they picked up 2 kills. One of those was not even supposed to happen, just absolute disrespect. And now Aldswitz
Oh man.
should get caught out by the flag and drag. Doesn't choose to go in with it, playing it a little bit safe. But Ensight wants to play this as deadly as he can. Going forward, flag and drag not going to go off just yet. Aldswitz trying to survive, gets taken out by the Proto Belt. Shockwave went out, didn't get much for it though. And here comes the teleport out of basic TJ, but he sent that in the wrong direction. Here comes Baron powerballing out of the corner, and that's what we're talking about. Unable to use the chrono break to get back to safety. Instead got taunted up, but the bullet time's going out. There's the Cataclysm used to flash away from Fabulous Sparkle. Sparkle Fabulous, both of them, it doesn't matter. As the fight continues, GDO going big, not able to get up front and grab anything, but a 1-for-1 exchange overall in such a chaotic jungle fight.
You never really want to fight a Misfortune and a Jarvan in the same spot in the jungle.
Okay, but once again, the coming out of Insight. Insight does have the chrono break this time. Able to get the taunt, trying to get Insight locked up, trying to stop his advancements from doing anything else, but constantly taunted up. Chrono break does go off, but they managed to take out Sparkle Fabulous. He's still alive.
Man.
He's still gonna get away.
That was played
Ooh.
played really well too. You went right back in when Shen ulted. Was able to get even with the Orianna ultimate, Shen was able to stay in range of this taunt and get the kill.
Yeah, some pretty good synergy there coming out from Insight and Genio. Now, basic TJ, come on, don't get that close. You should have PTSD by now.
Interesting to note that the Rammus is actually going for a Glacial Shot, not going for a Thornmail. Especially against an auto attack heavy team comp. Right.
I
The
really want to
Jarvan
know what
being
that
able
glacial
to
shot's
burst
gonna
down a
go into.
Rammus, that's something you don't see every day.
Ooh. And the combination of
Well, once he committed to the flag and drag to get the electrocute power on Rammus, he really had no other way to get out because everything was on cooldown in his flash as well. So unless he had immediately left, he would have died anyway.
solution to that was never go in.
True. Exactly.
You knew where they were. You had a general. Yeah, go ahead. I will finish. Despite everything that's gone on in this match so far, it's kind of surprising to see that TBJ are only down by 4K gold, essentially. 3K? No, 7K. I don't know math.
7K.
Yeah, oh my god, I'm going backwards. Trying to do math during a cast. Intelligent stuff, right?
Just-
So once again, we've seen this before. We've seen what Baron's done when getting caught out like this. This is a little bit too feisty.
Oh.
Yep. That was the wrong move. Flag and Drag comes out. Will the Cataclysm come out? Did spot Sparkle Fabulous, chose not to go for it.
Definitely. I mean, you saw him go 1v4 and still nobody caught him, so I'm not even sure if sending more than one person would work.
Ooh, but he chose it onto the tank. He is going forward, though, looking to get onto Killer Ken. Shockwave goes out. It comes up pretty big. Bullet Time goes out, and down goes the Misfortune. This might be the fight that TBJ have been looking for. The stopwatch is going out left and right, but around the corner, the flank end sight is there, and he's able to take out Fabulous Sparkle. And just as quickly as their hopes went up, they're being dashed, as that flank alone was enough to stop any advancements to come out of TBJ.
Ooh.
Yeah, Sparkle Fabulous still doing pretty well. He might be able to take out Insight. Insight uses a Chrono Break and deletes Sparkle Fabulous. Now Basic TJ's gonna be next. The flash done by Native just for style points, but that's gonna be an unofficial ace. Oh. Oh, what a turnaround.
You just
Yeah,
you cannot underestimate Echo in any capacity. True.
Oh, and that Chrono Break was just huge in that last bit of the fight. Really, Sparky Fabulous. Sparkle Fabulous could have got any other bit of damage in. Ensight would have been gone, and that fight would have been completely in favor of TBJ. But such a clutch move at such a clutch time results in basically everyone going down at least once, to the point where Elswis was able to respawn after dying early in that fight.
Magi's.
Magi.
Yeah. You were 10-0 before, and then you die as soon as you buy it.
Yeah, that's typically the case.
It's good that the Shen finally bought a Bramble Vest, because now when Maokai focuses him like he did in that team fight, he got the Grievous Wounds, which is really important if you want to take down the Maokai instead of having him regen like that team fight. Like, there was absolutely no Grievous Wounds applied from the TDS, and that was the reason he was able to live so long. He kept getting hit with abilities, kept healing off of it, and it was just insane.
Huh. Yeah, the interesting thing. Oh my goodness, Sparkle. The interesting thing about the way this is working out. Oh, you lock up? Nope. Oh, I've tried so hard to get my thought off, but something just keeps happening. But the interesting thing about me trying to speak, okay, the interesting thing about the way Baron's built, he's built according to how his team should not be playing at the moment.
That's very true.
Yeah.
This just goes to show that static builds that don't change depending on your circumstance is definitely not how you win a game.
Yeah, and running into a Shen who's 6-0 and 8 and expecting something good to happen from it is not how you win the game.
Yeah, especially. That, like, it directly applies to him, and it's foolish not to. But on the same token, Shen doesn't do that much healing aside from his grasp, so even if he did have the Thornmail in that fight, I don't think it would have changed anything.
It wouldn't change because he tried to 1v1 a Shen, then immediately moved to mid lane to get 2v2'd by 2v1'd by Killer Cannon Native. Here we go.
Jarvan's also... Exactly. Jarvan's still farming the top side jungle, which is definitely what he wants to be doing. He wants to be influencing what's happening on the map. He doesn't necessarily really need that more gold just from a few jungle camps.
You have some potential aggression coming out.
But Genio taking the tower while the entire TBJ team is just in mid. He keeps going until somebody responds. That's exactly what he needs to do. As soon as the fight starts, he can go right into it.
Yeah, this is an interesting fight breaking out so far. The ultimate is used. They're going after the tanks. That's how little they care about this composition, as both tanks are now down. Now the support's down. Only the two carries are up.
I think it was a mistake to send Orianna to try to deal with the Shen. She can't. The only thing she can do is wave clear, and she was really needed in that team fight.
And the
Sparkle
shockwave is up.
fabulous.
This could be the hero play we've been waiting for.
Probably trying to stay out of vision.
No
He
way.
probably...
Yeah, pretty much a free Baron. And in all honesty, for Sparkle Fabulous, it was probably the best call not to try anything risky as it was.
Eldo is clearing some wards. That's definitely what they want to be doing. Right. That's another example of just a static playstyle. You need to play, you need to adapt based on what kind of situation you're in, and the failure to do so from TBJ is really starting to show how this game is going. They know they're behind, but they can't play like it. And the same goes for TDS. They can't ward ahead, so they're not able to end this game faster, even with a Baron 1-3-1 split push.
And it's still a dangerous comp that they're up against. If they're allowed to stall and get into the late game, they have a pretty decent scaling comp. The Orianna, the Jhin, they all do their job pretty well when it comes to late game. And we do have a fight breaking out, almost catching out members, but it does force a flash of Valswitz. Pit status having to flag and drag over the wall after being a little bit too much into no man's land. But now the fight breaks out. Looks like they're going to focus on to Genio. Shockwave goes out, and that's a questionable Shockwave to use at this time because the team fight might be intimate. But Genio, unable to taunt over the wall, gets dropped. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Ensight looking to go after this tower. Oh. This is a split fight. This could work in favor of TBJ as they're looking to go after Killer Ken. Killer Ken gets caught up by the flash and the taunt and the bouncing grenade, but it's not going to be enough to finish him off just yet. The advancement gets a flash, a heal, but not much else.
Leona was walking around the backside of that fight.
No.
She definitely could have gone in on Jhin or Orianna, and she just chose to keep walking around and start disengaged. There's no confidence showing there. Definitely could have turned that fight around, instead choosing to back off.
They could definitely do the dragon right now, but they're not really setting up for it just yet. It is about to spawn. Yeah, but you know where they're coming from. Elswitz having to use the wild growth on himself once again, and the Stand United going to be used proactively, mind you. Picks up a kill onto Elswitz. Ooh, this is very dangerous for the tanks. Baron falls critically low, as well as Basic TJ, who's still going in and trying to get onto the back line, but it's not going to be enough as there's not enough damage coming out from the side of TBJ. Now their base is starting to fall into shambles as the first inhibitor under assault is going to drop. Where will they send their aggression to next? Here comes Baron once again, looking to dive on in. Baron taking a lot of damage, will eventually fall to who? No
Maybe
one,
not.
because he gets out just barely in time. Will they have overstayed their welcome? Out goes the stopwatch. Killer Ken's falling low. It's not going to be enough, though, as Cataclysm used onto Fabulous Sparkle. So is the Shockwave used, but the GA is going to keep him alive for a little bit longer, but it was only a little bit longer as Ensight picks up that kill. Ensight has no more mana left, though. This fight is still going on. Flag and Shrag fails. Ensight has to run away from this one. Genio looks like he's going to be cut out. They need to taunt him. They need to hold him down. They need to get something for this exchange, and they do manage to pick him off as Native, and the rest of the team runs away from a very disorganized, chaotic fight.
what's important is that the first half of that fight, when they were fighting around the inhibitor, Jarvan was not even there. Like, TBJ lost a straight up 4v5. And Jarvan was just still split pushing bot lane. I'm surprised that when Jarvan came up, they were actually on the backhand. Like, they traded evenly when they had all their members, as opposed to doing more than they had previously done.
Oh no. Yeah, and that's the thing. If they had no plans to go after that dragon, why even bother warding that area? Just ward the jungle around it.
It is a mountain, so maybe they were thinking that they could perhaps get it and then somehow come back into the game doing a little bit more damage to objectives, but even that was not worth the support dying once again.
Oh, but they had their chance to go after that specific mountain drake.
Right.
It was when they chose to go mid instead, when they knew people were still up. But regardless, they just decided to go burn flashes and lose their support again, which is a common theme now as the support has 6 deaths.
Once again, if you just look at the map, there's a lack of vision from both teams. Probably contributed to the fact that Eldos was dying, even though he wasn't. Oh, it wasn't overextension.
Oh, Shockwave lands on 4, really clean, and now they're getting a lot of damage off. Elswith walks into the bullet time, has to flash out of it. A lot of damage going out. These tanks are doing a pretty good job, but will it be a good enough job? It's not for Sparkle Fabulous. It's not for Elswith. It's not gonna be for basic TJ. As he almost drops, manages to flash out, get out alive. No, it's not going to be enough as member after member of Team Blackjack fall. Baroness gonna be next. A double kill picked up by Insight. And with 4 dead, they're going to look to close out this game. They just realized.
No, they just realized it. Oh! Jin with the defensive game.
Oh my god, is Fabulous gonna do this? Is he gonna do the one-man defense? Oh, Elswith is back.
Oh my god.
Elswith is hungry. He wants blood. He wants to go after pit status, and down he goes. What should have been the end.
An amazing lack of communication. They all could have just ended the game before Eldwis had even respawned.
What the hell, dude? Oh.
He has not died this entire game since that one death. What even was his one death?
When he got a CC'd up.
Ah. Not a single death since then.
Oh my goodness. This just went from Stomp to Clown Fiesta in about 10 seconds.
Jin still staying positive on his KDA. That's surprising. Staying. Right.
Yeah,
The lack of focus onto him is what's helping TBJ stay in the game.
And of course, Baron's nowhere near it.
Baron's nowhere near the Baron.
Yeah, they are playing a little bit of distraction. 2K left on the Baron. Baron not making up his mind, but the smite goes straight to pit status, but the fight's going on. Insight is losing a lot of health with the Stand United use onto him. Native should fall next. Out goes the bullet time, disrupting everything. And down go both tanks with only the carries left and Fabulous Sparkle defending the base. There's not much chance for this game to go on much longer as Sparkle Fabulous will manage to survive a little bit longer, but only a little bit longer as Insight gets the triple.
Let's see this one-man defense once again.
Here we go. Oh my god. And
And
yeah,
that's it.
that's the end. Oh, nope, not the end yet. The
Now
defense
it is.
continues. Eddie!
Oh, and he gets insight.
Worth! It cut
I mean-
Insight's KDA in half too.
Considering that game, I think that was pretty great of a KDA to have.
So this gets to the point where how do we even analyze this? This is one wild ride. Mr. Bones, I want to get off. When they're behind too.
Right. Especially since he's behind on gold, so even if he was even with everyone else in that regard, it was his third item. There's definitely no reason that he should not have built that sooner.
Yeah, there's so much that really says you should go for the Thornmail first. It's not the ultimate item to go for first, but in this case, why not? It helps you with your clear speed. It makes it so that you're utilizing your W even more. And if you're going to go for an armor item, why do the Righteous Glory right off the bat? That's especially when you're behind. That's something you don't want right at that moment. You want to wait until there's opportunities where you can make those types of engages, where your team can follow you up. But goodness gracious, Baron just decided to be thrown around all across the map, give kills left and right. He was giving tax returns, man.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
And especially against that specific team comp, like if you're going to try at any point in the game to face a Shen, you need to have a Bramble Vest to stop that Grasp of the Undying, to get a little bit of return on damage he's doing to you. I mean, anybody on their team really, like Leona uses auto attacks for her stun, Echo uses auto attack with his dash. It's a misfortune. Like it's such a crucial buy against even a team comp like that, much less like the champion.
On that note, I want to bring this over to the top lane now. We talked about the bad. Let's talk about how ridiculous that tent was in the top lane and just how bad basic TJ felt.
And it makes logical sense because if you want to gank a lane that game, ganking top would allow not only Genio to push the turret down, but also to start making an impact elsewhere on the map because it doesn't have to worry too much about the wave pressure. Especially opening up that part of the map, it also frees Genio to ult and teleport and do whatever he needs to do to make proactive plays elsewhere to get
Oh,
him
yeah,
ahead.
proactive keyword right there.
Exactly.
How you play Shen.
Exactly. And
And speaking of
that's exactly what they needed. They needed him to make the proactive plays and not just wait for the enemy team to make a play and then ult onto that. And that's what they did, and it worked.
But yeah, speaking of supports, Elswitz. why is that guy not on a tank every single game? He plays like he's meant to be on a tank, but when he goes on the squishy ones, he just gets caught out for some of the most trivial reasons. Yeah, but what a great job to come out of TDS. They pick up their first win of the season against the 2-2 team, now 2-3 team, Team Blackjack. Overall, they're over aggressive, but they put on a good display and it was entertaining to say the least.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah, so to wrap this up, congratulations to Team Dirty Sanchez's Team Sanchez team. Yeah, you get the point. I'm Desorix, one of my co-casters, Phoenix All and Nesware, and thank you for joining us for Risen Esports Rampage League.